As I dedicated the Arabic sermon on the occasion of Revelation, 27th of Rajab, the day of prophethood, and the revelation of the first 5 verses of the Quran to the heart of the Holy Prophet. I'd like to mention the anniversary of martyrdom of the 7th Imam of our 12 Imamiyya leaders and spiritual Imams, and that is Imam Mohammad alayhi salam. As I started an introduction for this subject last week, that the role of Ahlul Bayt, the Imams, was to protect the faith and to protect the community against oppression and ignorance, tyranny, and injustice of so many authorities of their time. They had to pay the price for the resistance. And this is why the Ahlul Bayt, they went through so many persecution and punishment and prison, and at the end with poison and different methods of assassination and murder. And none of them died in a natural death, and all those 11 Imams were killed and martyred by the authorities of injustice. When we talk about Imam Muhammad Al-Yafi'i, or min ulama al-Sunnah, talks about this Imam, says, كان صالحا عابدا جوادا حليما كبير القدر وهو أحد الأئمة الاثنى عشر المعصومين في اعتقاد الإمامية. A righteous man, very generous, very patient, and one of those 12 Imams that everybody remembers of the history and life of this great Imam, and especially his worship and prayer as part of his daily activities, and the spiritual being of this great Imam that is called to be A'badu Ahl Zamani. No one during his time was as spiritual and a person of being consistent on prayer than him. كان يصلي نوافل الليل ويصليها ويصلها بصلاة الصبح. Even the time that he was in prison, he was grateful to Allah for giving him an opportunity and freedom that he had enough time to pray in prison. اللهم إنك تعلم أني كنت أسألك أن تفرغني لعبادتك اللهم وقد فعلت فلك الحمد. Imam Musa al-Kadhim, and al-Kadhim is one of his titles, was, as Bab al-Hawaij and other titles, was an absolute obedience to the orders of his Lord. When one day he was walking through one of the streets of Baghdad, and he heard that there was a house belonged to Bushr al-Hafi, and he heard so much music, and people are drinking and dancing, and they're in a totally different world. And at the same time, he saw one of the slaves of that house came out to bring maybe the garbage and getting out of the house. The Imam asked her that, is the owner of this house hur? Is he free, a free man, or he is a slave? And the lady said that obviously he is free. And see, he is a wealthy man, he is a very powerful, big guy. How can you say that he is a slave? And Imam said, you are right. If he was a slave, if he was a servant of God, and muti' and obedient to his Lord, he wouldn't choose such a style of life which is absolutely full of negligence and looks like he is so careless and irresponsible and doesn't feel what is going on in this world. So Imam practiced this humility and and patience and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knowledge, of course, was one of the qualities of this Imam and every other Imam. We know Ahlul Bayt for their ilm, for their knowledge. He is the Imam who said, وَجَدْتُ عِلْمَ النَّاسِ فِي أَرْبَعٍ أَوَّلُهَا أَن تَعْرِفَ رَبَّكَ الثاني أن تعرف ما صنع بك أن تعرف ما أراد بك أن تعرف ما يخرجك من ذنبك. I studied the main issues in human life, and I reached to this conclusion that there are 4 fundamental things that you need to know. You need to know your Lord. You need to know the way that He designed you and He created you, your nature. And you need to know that what was the purpose of life, why you are here. And finally, you need to know that what may cause you to deviate and what may cause you to get lost and forget about your life and the purpose of life in this world. When Abu Hanifa came to the house of Imam Sadiq in Medina, and Musa ibn Ja'far was very young, a very young boy at that time, Abu Hanifa meant to talk to Imam Sadiq, but then he started talking to Musa, this young boy over there, and he said, well, the question that I wanted to ask your father, let me ask you. And the question was like something related to theology and philosophy, that when we make sin, when we commit a sin, is it God's responsibility because God can stop us from committing a sin, or it's our responsibility? And this young boy told Abu Hanifa, and Abu Hanifa, a big scholar, that well, we can consider a few possibilities. Whether this sin is committed by God Himself, or whether the sin is committed by God and man, both of them participated in this sin, or it is only man's responsibility. If we say this is God who is behind this sin, then why He is punishing the sinful? That's not fair that God punish someone for doing something while that person is not responsible for that action. And this is not something we believe God would do. And if we say that both God and man are responsible for committing the sin, then they are partners. And obviously the man is a weaker partner in this scenario. And then again, it's not fair for God to punish the weaker partner. If anybody is supposed to be punished, should be the stronger partner in this sin. So the only option that is left for us is to, and is fair to say, and is responsible to say, that when we commit sin, we are responsible for that, and that is why there is reward and there is punishment, because we are talking about responsibility. Another part of knowledge of Musa ibn Ja'far was focused on the fact of at-Tawheed. You know that in Islam the foundation is Tawheed. If we really realize the oneness of God, the unity of God, and faith in one God, and we realize that what it means to have faith in God and what it means to believe in one God, then really that is answer for all the problems. And Imam is talking to Hisham, one of his disciples, and he mentioned many verses, including this one, إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار والفلك التي تجري في البحر بما ينفع الناس وما أنزل الله من السماء من ماء فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وبث فيها من كل دابة وتسريف الرياح والسحاب المسخر بين السماء والأرض لآيات لقوم يعقلون. Look at the beauty of description of the glory of creation in one verse. The creation of the heavens, the earth, the change of day and night, the fact that the ships are operating on the oceans, and the snow, the rain, the life of this earth, the life of the animals, the movements of the winds, and the movement of the clouds between the heavens and the earth. Look at all these details and just reflect on it. And then you realize that is it really all of this universal operation is an accident? You think there is no force, no wisdom, no director? Nothing, no order behind all of this, and everything is by chance. And then Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam explained one by one. And now, when we have access to the new science and all this new astronomy information, it's just amazing. That look at the glory of this universe. Somebody said that if you are able to count 1,500 stars in 1 minute, which is very difficult, even if you have $1,500 and if you want to count it dollar by dollar, you count bills, it's going to take more than 1 minute to do that. But if you were so fast as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you could count 1,500 stars a minute, that would take 700 years to count the stars that already discovered. It's not, you don't know the number of the galaxies, the number of the stars, the suns, the moons. No one has exact idea. But that's how the great this world is. And then the size, the distance, the gravity, and everything that we can just touch on this earth, the ocean, the mountains, the rain, the life of this nature, the colors, the flowers, the fruit, the water, the way that we operate as human beings. You look at all this perfection in this creation. And Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam says that you think that really these are just by accident? So one of the main focus of the Imam, that he shared his knowledge with his disciples, was that he talked about Tawheed and the glory and perfection of the Creator through understanding the perfection and glory and greatness of His signs in the creation and universe. That is an important and amazing area of even thinking and reflecting. Then we come to the final part of the life of Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam, that martyrdom and shahada. And we know that why Imam Musa and other A'immah were martyred. Why they sacrificed their life for salvation of the society that they lived and for humankind in general. Why is it? Why is it that this Imam, though he did not ask people to have an armed struggle against Harun al-Rashid, but still he was taken to prison? Why is it? The spiritual power, the spiritual personality, and the spiritual qualities of Ahlul Bayt was scary for the governments. Even in one case when Musa ibn Ja'far met with Harun al-Rashid, and Harun is respected and admired Imam in an amazing way. When he left, his son Ma'mun asked his father, the Caliph of the time, and says, "Father, who is this guy? I never saw you respecting anyone to that level. Who is this?" And Harun al-Rashid, the Caliph, said, "Ya bunayya, hada warithu ilm al-nabiyyin, hada Musa ibn Ja'far. إن أردت العلم الصحيح تجده عنده." This is the son of Imam al-Sadiq. He is the inheritor of the knowledge of all the prophets. And if you are looking to get the real knowledge, this is the real reference. And you have to refer to Musa ibn Ja'far if you are looking for knowledge and wisdom. The son said, if that's the case, that who you are, we thought that you are really such a big man, and you are talking now about Musa ibn Ja'far. He said, tell me about your own position. And he said that I'm sharing with you, but this is not for public. أنا إمام الجماعة في الظاهر بالقهر والغلبة. I'm here by force. I don't have that spiritual position. The reason that I am where I am, because of the force and because of the military and money and all this material that are available to me. Other than that, this is the person that is the real spiritual leader of the community. Even the enemy acknowledged the quality and character of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam. One of the reasons that Harun cannot tolerate this man, because he's courageous. He says it like it is. One time he is going to the palace of Harun, and Harun thinks that Imam is so impressed with the, the size of this building and all these, features of the palace. Harun is asking Musa ibn Ja'far, what do you think about our palace? And Imam right away is saying, هذه الدار دار الفاسقين. This is a palace of polluted people. This is a palace of the sinful. This is a palace of the criminals. So if you want to tell the truth and you want to hear the truth, this is the house of Shaitan. So do you think that I'm so impressed by that? They don't tolerate people who are telling the truth and defending the truth and talking about justice and say the reality the way it is. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far lived only 55 years, and a big part of his life was in prison, at least seven years. When Harun Rashid went to Medina and he visited the grave of the Holy Prophet, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I have to arrest your son, Musa ibn Ja'far, your grandson. I have no any other option, because your son is a troublemaker and he made division in the community, and for me to keep the security and be in charge of my authority, I have no any other option. I have to arrest him. They arrested Musa ibn Ja'far. They sent him to Basra first, and Harun sent a message to Isa ibn Ja'far, who was a jailer, the chief of police in Basra, and he told him that I want you to find an opportunity to kill this man. And Isa, after a while, he replied to the Caliph that, believe me, there is no excuse for me to do such a crime, because anytime I go and I see this man, and the time that I cannot go, I put some spies over there to watch what he is doing, and all he does is just praying. He is fasting during the day and praying the whole night, and there is no justification that I can assassinate this man, and please, excuse me, I cannot do this. He said, if that's the case, you have to send Musa ibn Ja'far to Baghdad. And when Imam was in Baghdad, Harun Rashid asked Al-Fadl ibn Rabi' to be and he was the chief of police in Baghdad at that time, to have Musa ibn Ja'far in his house, under the house arrest. And Harun said to Fadl the same thing that he said to Isa. But he said the same thing. He said, I cannot kill this man, because the story of this man is the story of fasting and praying. And he doesn't commit any sin or anything that can be the reason for me to bother him and to kill him. Finally, the jailer of the Imam was changed. They freed Musa ibn Ja'far for a while. And that is long story. I don't have time to go through the details of that Harun saw something in his dream and he was scared and he woke up. And that was after a special prayer by Musa ibn Ja'far that he said, Allah, I'm tired from this house arrest and this jail. And they freed the Imam for a while, but finally again they could not tolerate Musa ibn Ja'far. They arrested again, and this time under Sindi ibn Shahik. And that man was an evil, a criminal guy, that he was ready to do whatever that Harun Rashid wanted him to do. And finally he poisoned the Imam. And just to cover up with their crimes, they put the body of Musa ibn Ja'far for 3 days on the bridge in Baghdad. And they said, هذا موسى بن جعفر الذي تزعم الرافضة أنه لا يموت فانظروا إليه. Some of the Rafidiyun, they meant the Shi'ia, the followers of Al-Bayt, they thought that the Imams won't die. And you can come and see that this is your Imam and he's dead. But at the same time, when they felt there is a tension was developing in Baghdad, they changed their policy and they asked Sulaiman ibn Ja'far Sulaiman ibn Abi Ja'far to ask people to come to participate in a memorial service for Musa ibn Ja'far, and they escorted the janazah, they escorted the body of Musa ibn Ja'far, and as a matter of fact, Harun Rashid himself, he was in front of the people who were escorting the janazah and escorting the body of Musa ibn Ja'far to tell people that, well, you know, that's not our fault. They were scared of this accusation that they were the cause of the death of the Imam of the Muslim community. Brothers and sisters, when we talk about Musa ibn Ja'far and other A'immah, we are talking about quality of these people. We are talking about their knowledge, their spirituality, about their humility, about their courage, their patience, their piety, their sacrifice and love for humanity, their generosity, their conscience, their care, their sense of responsibility. And if these qualities matter for us, if when we talk about Ahlul Bayt, we mean these qualities, then this is our responsibility as the followers of Ahlul Bayt. How much knowledge do we have? How loving, how patient, how peaceful, how responsible, how generous, how sacrificing, how good are we who claim to follow those Imams. So really, we are talking about qualities and we are talking about a big responsibilities. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, he raised so many children because that was the only way that they could contribute to the culture of the community. It's not an accident that the most of the Sadat are Sadat Musawi from generation of Musa ibn Ja'far. One of them is Imam al-Rida alayhi salam in Mashhad. One of his daughter is Sayyid al-Ma'asuma in Qum al-Muqaddasa. And there are many children, daughters and sons of Musa ibn Ja'far, although he lived only 55 years and 7 years in prisons, from prison to another, from Basra to Kufa to Baghdad, here and there. But he raised a family in such a short time that they were the source of light and blessings for the community. That's something that we need to apply to our families. How much we bring that love and that knowledge and that sacrifice and that respect and that responsibility to our own families and raise our children. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far could deal with like 30 children. Sometimes we don't have the ability to deal with 2-3 kids of sons and daughters that we have. So it is about following Ahlul Bayt in this action. Sometimes we are misunderstanding our own religion. We had a meeting just this week that the Imams of Shia and Sunni, and we had Dr. Aziz al-Hebri, we are talking about domestic violence that is an evil phenomenon in this world. Domestic violence. And sometimes people, they try to justify domestic violence with the Quranic verses. They forgot about all those more than 6,000 verses in the Quran that talk about the family. جعل بينكم مودة ورحمة لتسكنوا إليها هن لباس لكم وأنتم لباس لهن عاشروهن بمعروف. They forgot about all of these beautiful verses in the Quran, the verses of love and respect and support and understanding and cooperation and having good communication between husband and wife, and they focus on one verse, وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. And even then they did not understand the real meaning of وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. They think that Islam would allow husband to beat their wife or wives to beat their husband. Because nowadays, when they say domestic violence, they talk about mainly it's the man's fault. But we know that nowadays, many women are participating. How many times you hear in the news that, you know, she called her husband, she killed her. She called her and then she killed her. So, and then she goes to the court and says, no, I was abused and psychologically, and they say, okay, look, 1 year or 2 years in jail, and then she's free. My goodness, she killed her husband. And they are saying that, well, she was under like a psychological problem, and, you know, she was abused verbally, and that is why that, you know, they justify that. There shouldn't be justification of violence and killing, whether from husband or whether from wife, because the base is justice and fairness in the family. That is the foundation. Don't tell me this verse said this and that hadith says that. If you are saying that the hadith or the verse are justifying injustice, then you are wrong. Then you don't understand the meaning of that verse. Because the spirit, the soul of the teachings of the Quran and the hadith is justice. Anything other than justice in relationship between husband and wife, between parents and children, is not Islamic, is not Quranic. So everybody should respect and everybody should be responsible. And nobody can say, oh, me, poor you. No. We all are responsible, whether husband, whether wife, whether parents, whether children. And everybody should be judged with a sense of responsibility. So nobody can justify irresponsibility. We have to bring these teachings. Because if you don't bring this responsibility in the family, then we don't have responsibility in the community. Summer is coming. Some people are waiting to go on these argili places and just smoke for hours and hours, wasting time. And then getting in more mess in the community. I'm not saying those argili places should now close their business. That's not, they would not listen to me, and that's not my subject. But please, no more argili places in the community. If anybody is looking for a job, please look for something else. It's enough. It's enough what we have. We need more responsibility in the family and community and the world. Look at what is going on in the Middle East. Just today, almost 60, 70 people who were going to do the ziyarah of Musa ibn Jafar, close to Qadamiyya, in Baghdad, they were killed or wounded. 2 buses were attacked by those criminal takfiriyin. And they are so coward. They are so cheap and wicked. You are not hero. You are not man. You are not human beings by killing innocent people. If you are man, if you are hero, if you are fighter, go and fight like a man. Fight with the fighters. They fight like a man. They say it, they announce it. They go, they fight, and they die for their cause. Well, then you escape from a human fighting, and you go and put bomb on the passengers in the bus that they are not armed, women, children, innocent men and women. Shame on them. Just today and every day. Today and every day. They are saying that why Lebanese interfered in Syria. Yeah, we say like a State Department said that everybody stay out of Syria. Yeah, but then everybody. Why is it that for 2-3 years you've been doing a slaughtering and opening people's hearts and even disgustingly eating the heart of innocent, and nobody condemned that? But now those people who are patiently silent for 3 years and their villages under bombardment and innocent people were randomly killed, if they get involved, you start trying and condemning why they get involved. You never said this about those who come from Yemen, from Libya, from Chechnya, from Saudi, from Qatar, from other parts of the world, and do criminal things there. If you are asking us, we are saying enough is enough. No more blood, no more war. There is no victory in this military fighting in Syria. No winners, there is only loser, and that is the people of Syria. Let us have peace, let us have dialogue, let us have reconciliation. Let's stop this criminal war and find a peaceful resolution and peaceful coexistence among this nation. That is really our cause. But there are some people that they refuse any dialogue, any communication, any work for reconciliation, and they just want to fight. And then they want to fight and they want to kill. But if some people come and they want to even defend themselves, they condemn that, why you are defending yourself. So when we lose the values in the family, when there is responsibility, lack of responsibility in the family, then it affects the community and it affects the country, and everybody is responsible. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. And we thank you, Allah, for sending all the messengers from Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, peace be upon them, to come to human community and bring your message, your guidance, the message of peace, the message of justice, the message of love, the message of respect. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وإلى الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.